Just a few steps from Independence Hall is this statue, based on George Clymer, a signer of both the Declaration and the Constitution, commemorating the signing of both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, which happened in Independence Hall. It's a pretty radical act to sign the Declaration of Independence, so that's supposed to, have the spirit of all of those rebels signing that Declaration of Independence. But to me, he looks kind of like a rock star. A signer, more like the singer, am I right?
It was a really pivotal decision. It was that leap in the dark. And of course, for all of them, the danger, the fear would have been enormous at the time. This is even more treasonous than the illegal system of government you've been running for a year and a half. Signing a document that transforms this not just from kind of like a familial argument about government, but a total fissure with the British.
Signing your name to something that says, hey, I'm committing treason really quick.
Right.
Not an anonymous letter to
exactly.
George.
Yep, you can read all those signatures.
Yeah, there they are.
And I think that's where the Declaration's best potential is. Every day we have a printed copy of the Declaration of Independence that was created in the summer of 1776. And about every 3 months we change which copy because those are fragile documents. But what I love is that they rarely look like the Declaration of Independence you're picturing in your head. So you can see they're like greasy on the edges because they probably read it, maybe had to read it a few times. And I really like that because you can imagine the Declaration, which we're so used to hearing as those detached poetic words. And you can imagine the first time you saw those words, or maybe you never even read them. You couldn't read, but you heard the words out loud. What was the object that was there in the moment? Right after you see the Declaration of Independence in the Museum of the American Revolution, you turn a corner and above you is a recreation of that statue of George III. And there's a sailor up there offering you a rope that's tied around the statue. Would you have taken that rope? We hope that people who explore the museum get a chance to imagine how complicated and difficult that decision was and put themselves in shoes of people who didn't make that choice, but were incredible early Americans as well.
Yeah, it's a good question to ask yourself. Which side would you be on, thinking about how notaries are appointed? And in every state, it's a little bit different, whatever the charter says or whatever the Secretary of State specifies. But it all really comes down to someone with moral integrity. That's a huge part of being a notary. But this word of moral integrity, this idea, is all the way back in 1770s with our notaries back then. It's someone of good moral standing who can be trusted to do these things. So a lot of the times they're noblemen, they're lawyers, they're judges, they're people who work within this British state. That's a really interesting conversation. We'll see how many loyalists we'll get in the comments.